All right, everyone, we'll call the Tioga City Commission meeting to order at 7 p.m., September 3rd, 2024. We have a full board tonight, so we have a quorum. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands.
Okay, first up, we have the minutes for the commission meeting dated August 19th, 2024. If there are no modifications, we'll approve of the minutes as written.
I'll move to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as written. Move to a vote.
Yes.
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 And motion carries. Next is the commissioner's report. David, do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Yes.
Not this week. I think next commission meeting will have some things to bring up.
I have no dates at this time.
All right, on to the agenda. Modification and or approval of the agenda.
My name is Kathy Nesbitt. I would ask.
The motion to add Kathy Nesbitt to the agenda today. I'll second that.
My name is Wendy Lincoln. I'd ask that I be added to the agenda for the table.
I will make a motion to add the Bank of Tioga to the agenda today. I'll second that.
All right, so we'll put Kathy, we'll put you at number 9 under new business, and the Bank of Tioga at number 10 under new business. Yes, we do have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the modifications, so we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 And motion carries. Okay, old business number 1, legal. Liz, are you on?
I am, yes. Let me turn on my video here so I can see you all. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, very good. I just have a couple of items to share this evening, and as usual, to the degree that my participation is helpful or necessary, I'm happy to jump in. It looked like we had kind of a short agenda. The first item that I wish to update the commission about and request the commission's consent is an abstract expense. I appreciate Dan Larson as our community director, having reached out to the title team to inquire of an estimate for an abstract that will be needed for us to review the lot contained in Annabelle Homes for the new commission members or newer commission members. That's kind of an ongoing project. There was some discussion on the part of the city about a potential replat. Under the statutes, we have to do some form of title opinion, and in order to do that, I need an abstract. It seems that there is no abstract in place whatsoever for that particular Annabelle lot, or not one available to the city in any event. So the estimate for that abstract is approximately $3,000. That estimate comes from the title team located out of Williston. I've done some work with them and they're good folks. That is just an estimate to the commission board, but it sounds about right. And they believe the preparation time would be approximately 4 to 6 weeks. That's beyond the $1,200 that I'm authorized to spend without commission approval. So this evening I'll be seeking approval in the sum of, or the estimated sum of approximately $3,000 to secure an abstract for Lot 1, Block 54 in Annabelle Homes Subdivision 1 for that purpose. You don't need to do that during my section. You can do it later in the meeting. If you wish to do it now, that's fine. But That's the ask and the background there.
Right now, before we move on.
Could you tell me how much the amount was going to be again?
Yes, I'm sorry. It is, they estimate, and don't hold me to this, but they're usually pretty close. It would be approximately $3,000 for the preparation of an abstract, and that should be surface only abstract.
I'll make a motion to, have them carry on with doing that. I'll second that.
All right, with the motion and a second to approve the, I guess, go out for the abstract on the Annabelle development, the amount of $3,000. Is there any discussion on that? And we can move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Liz, that motion carries.
I appreciate that, commission board members. The next bullet point that I have here is just a heads up that actually appears on the agenda as 2 items. Apologies, let me go to those actual agenda items so I can clue you in with specificity here. It's regarding the lease for Pheasants Forever, and that's number 5, and then a revised or amended lease, a new lease, so to speak, with Northwest Sportsman Association. I'll let Pheasants Forever / Northwest address those items with greater particularity as far as they're concerned at numbers 5 and 6 in the agenda. But I was notified by the city last week that there was likely to be a change. I will note that Pheasants Forever put in a proposed notice of termination consistent with their existing lease. Essentially, it sounds to me, and I don't want to speak for them, but there's an entity change at issue there. And so they were proposing that a new lease enter into play for Northwest Sportsman Association, which I understand to be the new entity that's to serve in lieu of what was formerly Pheasants Forever. Consistent with that request and what I understood to be the city's position, I prepared a proposed form of lease. It's largely similar to the old one with some, I think, better terms. And just so the commission's aware, I made that lease effective September 1. And if the commission approves it, that's when the old lease would terminate and the new one would essentially commence. I obviously had not spoken with the commission at large, so I didn't know what the annual rental would be, and I will allow the presenters at 5 and 6 to discuss that with the commission, but that should be available and distributed to you. So I just wanted to give you a heads up there. I also wanted to give just a brief update on the issue with the roads in the Benson area. That project, I think as I indicated at the last meeting, we are set for trial in that case if it does not earlier resolve in late September of 2025. I know that seems like a long wait, but that's what the court dockets look like these days. Just as a heads up, we are, and by we, I mean myself and other counsel involved in that case, we're working on a scheduling order now. I anticipate we'll be able to nail that scheduling order down, and I'll have further and other process discussions with the city regarding its tasks in relation to that order in coming meetings. I don't promise you I'll know that for sure at the next meeting. I think it's likely, but just wanted to put that on your radar. Finally, I understand that we have an appearance this evening from KSI. I think Monty and Gavin are there, but it's hard to see the faces on Zoom. Everybody's pretty tiny. But in any event, I think KSI's representatives are there to discuss the annexation. That appears at item number 3 on the agenda. There's some prior correspondence. I believe that the commission is in receipt of all of that, and I've confirmed it. I know there's been a transition on the commission board. So I'll stand ready to assist in that particular conversation as may be needed of me this evening, because I know there's some statutory analysis that may come into play there. And I think for this evening, that's actually all I have, unless you all have any questions for me.
Thanks, Liz.
No problem.
Okay, number two on old business is the engineering report. Is Josh here or called in?
I am on Zoom here. Are you able to hear me there?
Really clear.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you. You should have my packet I submitted in front of you. We'll run through these items, and any questions, feel free to stop me and we can discuss further. So we'll start with Northeast Tioga Reconstruction Phase 2 project construction update on that. There's been some progress made here actually today. They were doing some of the asphalt corrective work on that project. Uh, kind of the main outstanding item beyond that was the seeding and topsoil work within the yard, boulevards and whatnot that were disturbed during construction. The contractor has provided us kind of, I guess, information saying, they'll be there this week or next week on at least two or more occasions. And there hasn't really been any progress made there. Today they did indicate that they've kind of just been having difficulties finding landscape contractor essentially to perform that work here in the time frame to get some growth here established this fall yet. I did provide them contact information of the landscape company that will be performing the work on the North Main Street project here next. They're scheduled to be starting next week Monday. I'll touch more on that later on in the agenda here, but provided them that as an option to reach out to them, and a couple other options that they can try at least. I guess with that, it's kind of been the concern of this, going this late into the year, allowing or getting some growth established here yet this year. Whether we want to leave that in the contractor's hands to get that completed or not. The letter that the commission had approved to send out here back in mid-July timeframe was pretty clear on the fact that if the work wasn't completed in a timely fashion, the city would just find somebody to complete it and withhold payment on that. So I guess I would leave that decision up to the commission here on which route you may want to go, if you want to leave that in the contractor's hands or potentially have a little more control over it by coordinating with a landscape contractor directly to hopefully get someone out here in the next couple weeks or so we have some growing season to get grass established there. So I'll leave that up to you, and I guess if there's any questions on that, I'm here to answer them. So
I don't, excuse me, would the middle of September actually allow any growth establishment?
generally this is a right now really is a pretty darn good time to get seed areas seeded for growth for the fall season. But yeah, and it all depends on what Mother Nature does too. But generally speaking, this is a pretty opportune time of year to have seeding, and we're out of the real hot dry season. So it's a good time of year right now to have that work performed.
What do you guys want to do? Leave it on the contractor or go out for bids?
I'd leave it on the contractor.
And I don't know that there's necessarily a need for a formal motion on that from my standpoint, but if that's kind of agreeable to just leave it in the contractor's court, from the rest, I think we can go that route and continue to keep pressure on them to get this thing wrapped up here. So
Yeah, I heard about the ones, so just carry on with that.
okay. Sounds great. Moving on then, Tioga Dam Recreational Trail Project. Updates on construction schedule on that. They are planning to start Thursday timeframe this week with getting silt fence installation started out there with dirt work proceeding and beginning kind of into next week with other activities following that. So there should be here by the end of the week a little more activity out there with construction really ramping up on that project. So beyond that, nothing more to add on that project. North Main Street reconstruction update on construction progress there. Everything's pretty well. The majority of work is completed on that project. The roads are open back up. The permanent signage is scheduled for installation tomorrow. So stop signs, yield signs, and crosswalk signs, and etc. That are slated in the project area will be installed. It sounds like tomorrow with, as I had indicated before, topsoil prep and seeding and mulching will be is looking to be scheduled for early next week on Monday to I imagine that'll be a few day or so duration of that portion of the work, and then things should pretty well be wrapped up on that project. So pretty close to wrapping that one up. The next item on that project is 204 North Wheelo Street Boulevard concrete. We discussed this at the previous meeting, and there was some miscommunication or confusion, I guess, as to the homeowner's indication of being willing to pay for this work. I guess that was wires were kind of crossed with a different area, and this homeowner did not indicate they were willing to pay for this the concrete to be placed in that area. They're more so requesting that the city would include that in the or would have that work performed and would pay the cost of it, is I guess the clarification on the cost there. And as I guess previously noted at the last meeting, the cost of that work from Wagner and Sons Construction was $6,800. So this would I guess look for a decision from the commission on whether the city wants to go forward with that. with the new corrected in understanding that that would be at the city's expense if performed. So
Josh, I'm looking at the bid and it looks like it's been redlined since we last talked about it. The square footage is smaller. They crossed out I'm not really sure what it says behind it, but it looks like something on the lines of like colored stamp stained.
yeah, yep. And I haven't been, I guess, in direct um correspondence with them. Dan Larson there at the city had talked with them to get this quote, and these were actually just notes I had put on there because when we provided them initial information, we hadn't performed exact measurements. It was just kind of ballpark measurements, and they didn't have the information related to um, the stamp pattern and color, which that stamp pattern and color are to match, I guess, not that it's necessarily nearby, but instead of kind of going willy-nilly and doing various uh, stamp patterns and colors throughout town, it would be to match what's on the Signal Road area near the hospital. There's some stamped concrete along some sidewalk there, so it would be to match that. And then the item that was struck out there, they did mention it has project specific exclusions, but they noted colored stamped concrete finishes essentially, which this is pretty clear. I think that it is included in the scope of work. It's probably just a template of theirs that they failed to strike that, but they from discussions we've had with Dan, it sounded like they were in line with these terms, which I had noted there. The square footage doesn't change a whole lot there. There is some change, but I think they indicated, by the time it is such a small batch, by the time you have to get the concrete ordered and all that, there isn't really much of a change on cost there from that end. So sounded like they were indicating the price would stay at that value they included previously.
We're not in time crunch on this one, are we?
What was that?
Get a time crunch on getting this done or needing to get it done? Because
I
I
guess
struggle with,
the big question I would say is if this isn't gonna be done, the concrete work there, the contractor for the North Main Street project itself would need to get topsoil in there and get it seeded, which that is, like I'd mentioned, scheduled for early next week. So that, I guess, that would be kind of the critical thing from my standpoint. And Wagner and Sons, I don't know exactly their urgency on approval on it.
It's probably worth noting, gentlemen, and I don't know, we can defer to Dan and Josh, but I do see that the date of that bid proposal is 8/13 of 2024, and it specifically says it's subject to change if not accepted within 30 days. So I don't know if they would change it, but it appears to me that they would be able to change that perhaps. And our next meeting is the 16th, so I'll just throw that out there.
I'd like to talk to them because the scope has changed. The scope got smaller, but the price didn't shrink along with it. And initially, we were saying it was okay for them to put concrete in. Now we're paying for the concrete to get put in.
Mm-hmm.
Josh, was this originally understood to be a 50-50 cost share with the owner? Am I remembering that correctly?
Initially, what what was understood was that the property owner had indicated that they were willing to pay for it. However, there was miscommunication on this versus a different area. So there's some confusion on that that we did clarify and clear up. But yeah, with this, the case was that the homeowner is asking that concrete be placed there, but not willing to share in the cost of it.
Thank you.
Should just wait on it. We go back and talk to them and see what they.
Josh, do you need a motion one way or the other tonight? Or, I guess we could-
I guess if the city were to decide to go forward with it, it would be appropriate to approve that cost. But I guess if you're asking to talk with them about potential change of price on it, uh, not necessarily a motion there, but and we can certainly do that. If that's the direction the commission would like to go.
Next week.
Are one of you guys gonna basically, Josh or the construction crew or Josh check on it?
check on
Okay.
So I had a hard time hearing Jess. I just want to make sure I understand. Josh, are you still there?
Yes. Yep.
If a decision does not render, and I'm not saying it should or not, but if the decision is to wait until the next meeting, will that interfere with the larger project? Just dumb that down for me, just a tish. If we don't, engage in the concrete work proposed by the owner there, whoever may be responsible, does that interfere with the nature of the work of the larger contractor? I guess I did want to know that.
It would as this area is kind of I guess a little bit off the beaten path of the major component of the work there. They basically just did some sidewalk work along that area. So if we are not going to be placing concrete there, that area should be should have topsoil placed and then seeded and mulched, which that's scheduled for Monday, a week from yesterday. So that would be I guess the impact. And it's not a huge area, but I guess we wouldn't want to leave it in the state it is now, without having a decision either way on whether concrete or leave it as it was, which was grass surfaced area.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yep.
Josh, this is right across from the police station, right?
Correct, yes. Yep.
Yeah, that sidewalk and curb has been poured for a while. This doesn't affect anything as far as needing to get them in and getting it done. So all I guess we're really asking is we want to talk to the contractor that did that project, since the scope went down, the price didn't follow suit. We just want clarification on that. I don't think anyone's really opposed to putting in concrete. We just want to dig up more information since we're on the hook for paying for it. And I think it's appropriate to just hang tight until the next meeting.
Yeah, but I guess what I want to make clear is that it's the general contractor that is doing the North Main Street project. This work was requested the day that their concrete contractor was leaving town, and they were unable to prepare a reasonable price for it because they didn't have any of the stuff for decorative concrete. So it was requested from a local contractor pricing for this. So you're kind of working with two separate contractors here to get this area, this portion, this little boulevard area complete, whether it be concrete or if we just leave it as it was initially planned as grass. But if we can't, the contractor for North Main Street, we can't really, if we're telling them, yeah, we're looking at concrete here, we can't have them hold off on this area, getting it ready for grass, and then have them come back 3 weeks after they do the rest of the project to do this little area. There'll likely be additional cost to complete that due to having to remobilize equipment and workforce in to complete that. It's kind of the hiccup on that. So
it's a timing issue, Josh.
yes.
And I'm
Yep.
not suggesting that the commission should go one way or the other. I have no opinion about what should happen with that portion of the project, but I guess I'll throw out that to accommodate both concerns, the commission could certainly engage in a conditional approval. That way, if the commission wishes Josh to confer with Wagner about the bid, because I think it changed by like 50 square feet, which is fair. Brett's concern about the reduction in the size of the project and the, I guess, non-equivalent reduction in price. And I don't want to say whether that's right or wrong or indifferent or whatever, but you guys could conditionally approve it. I guess the reason that I'm suggesting that that's an option is because of the timing being in play. And so if the bid, you could conditionally approve the bid with Wagner up to a certain amount. If that works out, great. If not, you can tell the contractor to go ahead and seed. I don't know if that might track with what you're hoping to accomplish, Josh, but it's a thought.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, that definitely.
All right, let's break this down. So initially, we thought the landowner wanted concrete in the boulevard and they were willing to pay for it. We were okay with them doing that because it was something they wanted. It was something that they were going to foot the bill for. Now the game has changed, the square footage has changed, the price hasn't changed, and we're paying for it. Now, keep in mind, they didn't have concrete there to start with. So do we just say, fill it in with dirt?
Grass originally.
Yes. Do we just say fill it in, plant it, be done with it? So Josh, you need that's the route you want to go. You need to make a motion to seed it rather than concrete. Flip side of the coin, you want to make the citizens happy as we possibly can. They're going to look at it for the rest of forever, right? They got to be proud of.
I don't think Liz's idea was so bad. I just don't know exactly what the price should be, but if we threw them a number and they took it, then great. If not, we'll just put it back to the way it was.
Based upon the square footage change, if you just calculate out the area that was there, that they had included, the 3 feet by 150 feet. Now we're at 3.5 feet by 115 feet. It's 90% or just under 90% of this square footage they had quoted. It's a $700 price difference. Is what it would result in if you just base it upon square footage at that. But I don't know how their quote was pulled together, if there's differences in their cost for getting the concrete at a smaller load or what it may be. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the summary on that. And then there's the bigger question exactly of the homeowners requesting this. There wasn't concrete before. Should the city be partaking in that cost? Just because a homeowner is requesting some additional concrete be placed out there.
Like, it would be one thing if we were putting something back the way it was.
Well, it's your guys' choice. My opinion is, since we've had our third engineering zinger that's on a timeline in a row, we just put it back the way that it was before they started construction. We're flirting with gopher eradication type talk.
Okay, I make a motion to just put it back to the way it was originally. That way the contractor can get in there and get it finished.
I'll second that.
All right, with the motion and a second to replace the boulevard the way we found it. Vote.
Yes.
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 Okay. Good enough for you, Josh?
Yep. Thank you very much. Moving on then, last couple items, just some miscellaneous items I have here. Committee for the dam, there was discussion at the May 6th commission meeting prior to the new commissioners, I guess prior to the election even, they're taking over the roles that they are. But there was discussion related to forming a committee for the dam to kind of help steer decisions on proposed improvements up there, kind of more specifically related to the evaluations that have been done of the dam itself, and potential improvements that need to be made to the dam. Just wanted to bring that up for discussion to see if there's been any further development of that committee, or kind of where things stand with that.
About that, I haven't heard Pete since we talked about it.
So the original thought was to open up a small board for the Tioga Dam to help make some of those decisions and maybe even hopefully continue to do improvements out there. Just be a smallerish board, like a board you maybe advertise for, so that if somebody's interested, they can come in and put in, a letter of interest.
Might it be helpful to give it a spot on the next agenda and allow this commission, since it's got a new composition, to review the May 6th minutes?
Very much so. Thank you, Liz. Josh, we still have you?
Yep, yep. Was that, sorry, it's hard to hear a little. Was it just was,
We're gonna add it to the agenda next meeting.
okay, great, excellent. And then the last item I have then is asphalt patching. Kirk with the street department there had he'd mentioned he was gonna interested in having some street patching done here this fall. I reviewed the areas with him and put together kind of a little packet. That's the majority of the packet here this evening, that has been sent out to a couple paving contractors that'll be in town here this fall, to get quotes from them to perform that work. So haven't received pricing on that yet, but we should have that for the next meeting for consideration. But wanted to get those I guess locations at least in front of you for review, and then I guess if there's any other areas that come to mind or anything, feel free to reach out to Kirk or I, and we can look at potentially adding them to that list for their pricing quotes that they'll be providing here. So with that is all I have this evening, unless there's further questions for me.
There is one spot east of the old Hillcrest School. Barnum brought that up like months ago in front of her handicap parking areas. We need to include that, because as far as I know, nothing's been done yet. And like I said, that was months ago.
Okay, we will
Swing by there and take a look, add it to your scope.
Yep, we will do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
Okay, old business number 3, that's KSI Vogel Law Firm. Sorry we kept you waiting.
No problem. Good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Monty Rognaby. I'm attorney with the Vogel Law Firm in Bismarck. And with me is my partner, Gavin Mint. And I also have Ryan Turkfly, who's Vice President of Operations for KSI Industries. We were here in April of this year and addressed the council concerning KSI's request to be de-annexed from the city of Tioga. And as Liz indicated, we're not asking for a decision tonight because there's a formal petition process and some work that we would have to do legally, and then work with your council, provide proper public notice, have a hearing, and then ultimately, if the commission was so inclined to adopt an ordinance that would allow KSI to be decoupled from the city. Why is KSI making this request? And I want to just kind of give you the background, and then Ryan might provide some additional details and also answer any questions. In the summer of 2022, KSI was looking at improving its property, adding some structures. And as part of that, they identified a need for a fire suppression system. To solve that fire suppression need, one of the options that KSI looked at was being annexed into the city of Tioga, having city services brought out to that new annex location, and splitting the cost of this new service, the cost of putting the service in with the city of Tioga. This was in the summer of 2022. And at that time, KSI and the city believed that the cost of doing this, the annexation and adding these services was going to be approximately $1 million. And the city agreed that it would pay half, and KSI agreed that it would pay half, so about $500,000 each. KSI hired the city's engineer, Moore Engineering, to help develop this plan to get the city services to this location. In October of 2022, the city annexed this property, KSI's property, and made it part of the city. The first plan in June of 2023, the first plan that was presented for how the city services would now get out to this new portion of the city anticipated a fairly direct route with the need for just a few easements. But by August of 2023, what the parties learned was that Hess was not willing to grant an easement for the city's infrastructure, and it has, and Ryan can provide more detail about that, but it has to do with the types of lines that Hess has in place and the difficulty of crossing those lines. So all of a sudden now the scope of this project went from being a relatively direct route to not being a direct route. And so getting into the summer of 2023, KSI was working with Moore to try to find an alternative route, and that alternative route was going to result in the need for more infrastructure because this wasn't as straight of a line, and more easements, and the cost then jumped from approximately $1 million to approximately $2 million to get this resolved. As you can imagine, from KSI standpoint, they had their infrastructure in place, time essence, to get the fire suppression system and the sanitary sewer system and all of that in place. And by August and September of 2023, there was no clear plan as to how the infrastructure would get there. We didn't have the easements in place, and it wasn't clear at that point whether or not the city was going to be willing to have this deal change from about a $500,000 commitment, if split in half, to approximately $1 million commitment. So at that point in October of 2023, KSI couldn't wait any longer. It basically took care of the problem itself. It installed what it needed to install so that it could have the fire suppression system that it needed, and did not get connected to the city sanitary sewer system. I believe it has access to water that is being provided through rural water in the city. So it does have that connection. So that's why there's an ask to become de-annexed from the city. The idea when this project started was KSI would become part of the city. It would be subject to the city sales tax requirements. The city, when it annexes property, has a general legal duty to provide services to the annexed territory. And again, what the Attorney General's opinions on this say is that, you know, if the city can afford it, and, you know, taking into account the city's finances and everything else, but it's never envisioned that the city is going to annex property and not provide the infrastructure services to the property. And it looks like that's probably not, if it happens, it will be long into the future before the city has any real infrastructure at this location. So because there was this change in what the parties thought was going to happen to what actually happened, what KSI's request is to the city is put us back the way we were before we petitioned for annexation and before the city annexed us. There is a statutory process that Liz can explain if this is the direction that the council wants to go and is willing to go. There's a statutory process for KSI to petition to be de-annexed from the city. There's some requirements that KSI has to jump through. There's some petition requirements, publication requirement, and then ultimately requirement for the council to adopt an ordinance that would decouple that territory and turn it back to where it was before October of 2022. So that's the question. Ryan, did you have anything that you want to add to?
Happy to come up
And happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So I know I'm really well versed on that whole situation, and it's it's unfortunate because we thought we were mutually gonna benefit from the deal and the project just didn't go through. Sales tax you shouldn't be paying, you're not hooked up to our services, right? That's really what it is. But here's what I know is there's a real smoking gun in that century code as far as the annexation, and that's if the territory's been platted or not, and I know that territory's been platted, so I guess what I would ask you guys to do, and I'm gonna let all these guys talk, this isn't just me, but I would ask for you guys to come up with a lawful basis on the annexation.
Yeah, and thank you for that. That's a good question. We looked at that. And what it appears happened is that the legislature changed that statute. And they changed it in a way that depending on how you read the platting requirement, makes it impossible to ever de-annex property. Two things, I think, moving in opposite directions. First is the recorders now will not allow you to record legal descriptions that aren't platted. You know, when I first started practicing law, you could almost record any kind of legal description, meets and bounds, whatever you were using. And now there's a much more strict requirement of a survey, a signed survey, which is often referred to as plat, right? And I don't know in the context of the annexation statute that those two things should be read as synonymous. And there's some Attorney General opinion support for that. So yeah, that one of the issues that we would have to work out with your council is how to get there. But I think that we can finesse that and do it in a way that's neat.
My personal opinion, I think you guys should be de-annexed. Like I said, you're not benefiting from any of the services that you don't have, right? But like I said, I really need you guys to do the heavy lifting of finding a legal basis to make that happen. And I know you want to talk to Liz about it too, but I really don't want her to have to work harder on something that really she shouldn't have to. So I really, like I said, flex your muscles, do the heavy lifting, figure out a way.
And I absolutely understand that. One of my other roles in Bismarck is I'm city attorney for the city of Lincoln. And I find I'm in that role exactly what you're saying, which is if you're coming with a request, have your lawyer do the heavy lifting and show how to get there. So we're happy to do that and present that. But again, the flip side of that is before we have KSI invest in that and the work that we need to do, we wanted to have a conversation with the council and just kind of get a feel for whether or not this is something that generally speaking that you would support. And then obviously we will do the heavy lifting on that.
I struggle with people saying that there's a can't do situation. There's always a situation. You just gotta find it. That's all I would be asking, but are you guys up to?
Excuse me, I completely agree with Brett. After reading through this, especially, it was supposed to be mutual for both parties. We were able to do part connecting you to the city, but you guys did your part. So, I mean, I completely agree with Brett. Like you said, do that in lifting, find a way, and that was.
Any other questions?
Go
Yeah.
on. Yeah, come on.
I'm Chuck Stewart, Chairman of Tioga Township, and through this annexation project, along with about 12 others in the last 13 years, Tioga Township has not been part of the annexation process, and Tioga Township is not interested in taking the KSI property back into Tioga Township. With the size and scope of the building and the yards and all the traffic on 66th Street west of Highway 40, Tioga Township is not interested in an annexation project back into Tioga Township with the business and maintenance on that road. And That's all I have to say.
Certainly, we can have some discussions with the township. As I look at the annexation statute, it really is a question for the city to answer. Obviously, we want to be good neighbors to the township, and it's something that we can have a conversation with them as part of this process. But I think that what my request was for tonight's visit was to have a conversation, get a sense of whether or not the council is open. Sounds like you are open if we can get there and satisfy township's questions. What we will do is work in presenting how this can be accomplished. And then as we work through that process, we'll submit a formal petition and cause it to be published and bring it to the council then for a public hearing and then a formal decision. Besides, that would be my plan right now. I understand that we'll have to visit with your council as we go, but that is kind of where the direction I see this going. And then if the township wants to take a formal position on it, they'll have an opportunity. There'll be a public hearing and we can address those specific concerns.
I just want to know if it's possible, yes, but I really want to know how to satisfy our neighbors too.
Yep, I understand.
That's
That's a new
Lots
concern
of everything.
that we'll have to address. And thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate being able to come and address you.
All right, moving on to new business, number 4, that's truck route parking. Josh, I think you were gonna help with this. I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about. You can definitely come out if you want to. If not, I can just kind of wing it.
No.
Okay.
Steve Nelson, Tioga Police. So over the past year, we have received a number of grievances regarding semi-truck parking on Elm Street, specifically between 2nd Street North and the 6th Street, where the community center is there. The complaints range from semi-trucks parking close to Come and Go, where they're creating blind spots where when people are trying to pull out of Come and Go, they're almost getting hit by cross traffic on Elm Street. We've had grievances from the park with concerns that these semi-trucks may potentially be leaking fluids at any particular time, though we haven't gotten a report of that those fluids may run into the park. We've also gotten grievances regarding these semi-trucks doing maintenance on the side of the road. We're kind of in a difficult position right now where we don't have an adopted ordinance where these vehicles can't perform the maintenance on the side of the road. And I get that it's probably common sense that it wouldn't be a good idea to do that. However, I don't think to make the law as they go along out there, unfortunately. So that's going to be an item that we're probably going to need to address and look into here in the near future. Per the ordinance for truck route parking, it basically outlines that truck route parking on the truck route is prohibited really in any location with the exception of Elm Street between 2nd Street North and 4th Street where the park is. There are trucks that park to the north of 4th Street between 4th and 6th, which technically by letter of ordinance would put them in violation of that. However, it's not signed no truck parking there. And therefore, because of that, we haven't been enforcing that and issuing citations for that simply because we feel that that would be unfair to the truck drivers, you know, not having posted truck parking there. So there's a few options I guess you guys have, and I'm sure Brett you'll weigh in on some of this. Obviously our first option is to potentially put some signs up between 4th and 6th that prohibit truck parking. It sounds like a lot of these drivers are either staying in Black Gold Suites or in Prairie Flats apartments, which are the apartments right behind Come and Go there. So obviously you understand why they need to park there. We've also gotten, I should also outline too, we've gotten a noise complaint earlier this year because of trucks idling on that from an individual in an apartment. So two options we have here is to potentially put the signs up to put then our ordinance kind of in compliance, so we can enforce that appropriately. Or we could simply readdress the ordinance in terms of truck route parking to either allow it fully on that stretch of road between Second and Sixth Street, or completely prohibited. But I guess at the end of the day, I wanted to see what you guys' take was on that, what you would like to see.
So I definitely think we need signs, because it's getting out of control now. They're on both sides of the road, and from what I understand, because we have cones on the west side,
Yes,
they take them and they throw them into the park so that they can park on the street there.
yep,
Or they just run them over and take them with them.
sure.
We gotta do something.
Yeah, I think when this ordinance originally came to be, there really wasn't much truck parking, and it isn't until just last year, maybe two, that it started to really take hold, and now it's to a point where truck parking is becoming quite a bit in that area. And the main folks that are affected by this obviously are your patrons for come and go, entering and exiting, but then also the storage units is where we're getting a lot of complaints, because those trucks are blocking the entrances to those storage units. And then, of course, on top of that, the park's concerns and lack of respect for their cones, I guess.
I find it odd that they even choose to park there. They can park their truck at Pinnacle for free. Doesn't cost anything, but yeah.
No, I get you. I understand.
Yeah, I think where it is prohibited, we better get a sign up and start enforcing it, at least where it's prohibited. And then we'll see if it gets better or worse, I guess.
Do we have signs on inventory?
So I don't know. That would be more so Kirk question. Per this ordinance, the street superintendent would be the one that would be managing those particular signs. However, we would be happy to work with Kirk to find the proper placements of those, so that way we would be able to enforce that appropriately.
If that's the route you guys wanna go, we could have a one call cleared and signs installed this weekend. It's pretty quick and easy. I know it's not that easy, but we can always make it sound that easy.
Yeah, so it sounds like you guys are okay with them parking between Second and Fourth, just not between Fourth and Sixth. So keep the ordinance the same as is what it sounds like.
I don't think they should park on that whole stretch. But for now, what is it, 4th to 6th, that would solve that problem for the park.
The problem that I see with it is if we're gonna boot them out of there, they're still gonna wanna be staying at Flag Road Suites and wherever. So then, like I said, the only other place for them to park is at Pinnacle. They'll probably do that, maybe. But, you know, if they don't have a vehicle and they only have their truck, then they're gonna be walking on the viaduct. Is that gonna be causing a problem too, I guess?
Right, well, and that is a very legitimate concern, because at the end of the day, a lot of these truckers do like to shop at Cash Buys Foods, or like work out at Anytime Fitness, and even parking where they're parking now creates somewhat of an issue for them, because how do we expect our truck drivers to be able to shop local businesses when we're expecting them to walk 200-300 yards to get to it? So I don't know, maybe also potentially looking into maybe creating some truck parking on Signal Road where they can park there to get groceries or whatnot, and make a sign that appropriate. Maybe something worth chewing over for.
I think we should just put the signs up and start enforcing where it is prohibited, and just think on what we just talked about and see if there's other places for them to park, or, you know, cause I mean, it's good that they're here. It's
Right.
just not,
Well, it's certainly a main industry of our area, so we want to make sure we're supporting them, so.
That the motion, we're gonna make a motion to install signs in the bypass in the areas that are prohibited from.
Yep, I make a motion to, put signs up in the prohibited area and start enforcing it.
All right, with the motion and a second to install no parking signs in the prohibited areas of the truck route, and we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 And motion carries. All right, number 5 is the pheasants forever section. I don't know if anyone's gonna talk on this, but I can kind of muddle my way through it. Essentially, pheasants forever is no more.
Right, I could talk.
That'd be helpful if you want to.
I'm helping out informally with, East Valley and Northwest Sportsman. Pretty much, we all, the board and everybody involved stepped away from Pheasants Forever. Started up our own nonprofit, and we're really just looking to continue what we've always done out there, and just to the organization to the and do a new lease for the cattle and everything. I think it was $150 a year we paid. To do what we doing.
So you're looking for a motion to terminate the lease of pheasants forever.
Yep.
And then initiate a new lease with.
Correct. Northwest Sports Association.
All right, let's start with the first one. So pheasants forever lease.
I will make a motion to terminate the lease with Pheasants Forever.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to terminate the lease for the pheasants forever. Is there any discussion on that? Let's move to a vote.
Yes.
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 And that motion carries. Second would be initiate a new lease with Northwest Sportsman Association.
I don't have it drawn up. But we haven't-
Liz, you might need to help us out here on this one.
Sure. Are you just moving to approve the form of lease we've currently drafted? I can fill Northwest in. Let me jump back one screen here, guys. For Northwest's information, it's substantially the same as the prior lease. I mean, certainly I would wish you to review it because of course you should not sign a contract without reviewing it. The material or most material changes I added, pardon me, I added a couple of terms. One was, I recall, allowing it to be executed in counterpart. That's pretty standard. It just means you can collect all signatures separately. That's illegal, and allow them to be affixed together. I clarified the indemnity clause. I know the rents are relatively low because you're a recreational outfit. And so there was the added indemnification language, just essentially that if Northwest were to be sued for their own activities on the premises, the city certainly does not wish to be liable for those activities. I clarified the insurance provisions, and the dates for that would require Northwest to, sorry, I'm jumping to the lease as I try to talk, and I'm obviously not very good at multitasking. Insurance would, and that was true under the old lease, be due or proof of insurance and liability policy to the city annually. I clarified the date to be September 1st because we anticipated that would be the new lease termination date and the lease effective date. So there was no gap in your use of the premises there. That's what I understood from informal conversations. But you would be responsible for updating that insurance information. And I added, of course, that if the insurance information changed, you would have an obligation to notify the city immediately. I left blank the rental because that's really a commission decision. I don't know what the rent should be, frankly. I think that's up to the commission and Northwest to discuss directly between the two of you. But I did leave it as being an annualized rental, which was the same under the old lease. And I clarified that rather than being due on June 1st, it would become due on September 1st. I'll also note that I changed the primary term of the lease. The old lease, I think, was a 99-year lease. I didn't do the math with particularity, but I believe it was a 99-year lease. In this case, I created a primary term of 3 years. It would run from September 1st of 2024 and end the 31st day of August 2027 at midnight. Noting, however, that there's an automatic renewal of the lease, which says that if neither the city nor Northwest submits written notice of termination of the lease, it would automatically continue in 3-year intervals thereafter. That just seemed a little bit more customary and maybe wise than doing a 99-year lease on the premises. Same maintenance provisions, tried to clarify those and modernize them, I guess, but it sounds like you guys have done a pretty good job keeping that premises in good order, so I tried to remain true to that. I did clarify relationship provision, just indicating that this is a tenant and landlord arrangement. Northwest is not an employee, agent, or contractor of the city in that respect. And frankly, I think all other terms and conditions of the lease remain the same. So those were the changes. To my mind, they're not terribly substantial. The big issue is what is the annual rental and whether the city wishes to enter into a new lease.
All right, guys, what do you say?
So I think that was 150 annually. I can't remember off the top of my head, but are you comfortable with 150?
And so then,
And we do already have our insurance, so.
so I guess we would be looking for a motion to execute on a lease agreement with Northwest Sportsman's Association at a $150 a year rate.
She can look the contract over. I mean,
I've read it and I mean, she just needs those changes back there.
okay. Listen to the contract or the lease agreement to Northwest Sportsman Association with the of 100.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to execute on the new lease agreement with Northwest. Is there any discussion on it? Now we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
The motion carries. Number 7 on new business is the visitor promotion application. That one's for $5,000 for the farm festival. Three-day event providing numerous activities for attendees of all ages and community of Tioga, September 6th, 7th, and 8th. The Visitor Promotion Board recommends approval of $5,000 for the annual farm festival event.
Happens yearly. They put a lot of work into it. I would make a motion that we would approve the visitor promotion application to the Tioga Farm Festival.
I'll second.
All right, with the motion and a second to approve the visitor promotion application for the Tioga Farm Festival, we'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 And motion carries. Number 8 was the NDDOT lighting on Highway 40. Abby, you might need to help me with this one, but so my understanding is this project, they're just replacing the bulbs. So the scope of the project is to replace current lighting with LED lights. The will be reused. Really nothing's changed except for the light bulbs. So we need to make I guess, are they seeking approval to do this project?
No, they just wanted you guys to be informed and read it, so it was just an FYI for you guys.
Is there any questions on that before we move on? That's pretty straightforward. All right, number 9 is the new ad, Miss Asset.
Well, Mr. President and Commissioners, thank you very much for your time, especially on short notice. And I just wanted to make you aware of the activity at the Tioga Airport. My name is Kathy Nessett. I own the Tioga Aero Center FBO that's out at the airport ground. Now, a fixed-based operator is what that is. And that's like the convenience store to the flying public. When you come in, we provide the fuel services, self-serve or full-serve. Oils, help you find a hotel room, rental car, courtesy car was provided by the airport authority. There's all sorts of things, flat tire dolly. So there's a whole list of services. And what I provided you in these packets are the one packet just shows, it's some notes from the Tioga Aero Center, the business that I own. There's also the set of minutes from the Tioga Airport Authority. And I just wanted to go through them a little bit. I also want to let you know, I also own Nessett, which is an oil and gas company, just on Highway 40 north of town. Been in business here in Tioga for 44 years. We employ over 360 individuals and contractors here in Tioga working in technical fields of the oil and gas industry. At the time that we built our new building for Nessett in July of 2012, we asked to be annexed into the city of Tioga. And the reason for that, or part of the reason, was that I wanted tax base to be kept in the city of Tioga, as opposed to going to the full county. I love Tioga. This is my home. This is where I've built a business with my family. And I want to continue to do that. And I just want you to know that I'm very committed to that. The Tioga Aero Center employs one full-time worker. We have a couple of guys who help out just as part-time. Only one worker is actually charged back to Tioga Aero Center for doing the work out there on a full-time basis. Let me just take you back quickly and go through these minutes of these meetings. February of 2019 was when that new building was built. And when that building was built, the Tioga Airport Authority, which was under you, put out an RFP for the FBO service. Prior to that, TAC had been on the field as, without being awarded the contract. So in 2019, the formal contract was awarded. TAC was, Tioga Aero Center TAC was won that award. There were no other bids at that awarding process. In 2019 also, Tioga Airport was awarded the Airport of the Year by North Dakota Aeronautics Commission. It's a beautiful airport. I think it is the most beautiful general aviation airport in this state. It's something to be very proud of. In 2020, June of 2020, Tioga Aero Center entered into a written maintenance contract with the airport authority. Those maintenance services were for mowing, snow removal, and that type of thing. Prior to that, the board members did that they wanted to put that out so the guys and gals didn't have to do as much of the work themselves. So now I'm going to bring you fast forward. That's kind of the history of how we got where we are. May 22nd of 2024, there's regular scheduled meeting, and at that meeting, the Tioga Aero Center was renewed to that contract. So we had renewal on our contract as a fixed-based operator with maintenance on the field. That was voted on. It was in favor to keep maintenance with the Tioga Aero Center. So this is just May of this year. In June, on June 4th, was a special budget meeting. But at that meeting, the Tioga Airport Authority voted to hire their own employee to do the airport grounds maintenance. Even though they had 1 month prior, 2 weeks prior, awarded the maintenance to Tioga Aero Center. Following this, Jeff Moe, the Tioga Airport Authority president, met with me, and he assured the Aero Center would still get 15 hours of guaranteed time on the field doing maintenance. Now, it's important to note, as a fixed base operator, there's two main components that go into that build the business as being viable to pay the salary of the worker that's out there. And those two things are the maintenance and the fuel sales, which Tioga Aero Center was providing. By hiring their own individual without a competitive bid process, you're now taking away the ability of this FBO to stay viable on the field. I made this aware to the entire board. The guy who we had working is here tonight. His name is Craig Jackson. Craig Jackson is here. He worked in the Army as a mechanic, diagnosing, fixing issues with military equipment. He was based in South Korea on an air base. This is the work he did in the Army. Craig Jackson is totally qualified to do this work. I have some of the notes of what Craig kept track of the work and the processes he did day to day out on the field. And I want you to know this is very thorough. This is only one of his books. So we have a very good accounting of the jobs he was doing out there on the airport. Let me keep moving ahead here. I want to make sure that I don't take too much of your time. What started to happen also was that Tioga Airport Authority stopped allowing Craig to do maintenance work. And they did this by not allowing him on the equipment, even though they had said, and Jeff Moe said he would train him. He did not do that. Craig was able to do the riding zero-turn mower. They turned around, said, no, you may not use that mower. He was absolutely relegated to a push mower and a weed whacker to do the maintenance at the field this summer. That's a lot. That's almost impossible to do. But at the same time, Jeff was providing individuals from his own company to supplement that work and to do the on-site maintenance at the Tioga Airport. June 20th, the scheduled meeting, I provided a one-page summary of a contract to summarize the contracts between Tioga Airport Authority and the Tioga Aero Center. That contract was never signed. During that meeting, the airport authority said Dean and Curtis are to work on a new contract with an attorney. This was never done, and this was, I should say, it was never provided to me or into any public document. Fast forward to July 18th of 2024. We're now in the regularly scheduled meeting. The Tioga Airport Authority now votes to take back ownership of the fuel from Tioga Aero Center and offer TAC an option to buy fuel at a negotiated price to continue with the full service, which means the fuel trucks on the field. You have now set up a situation where these two entities are in competition with one another. That is a very difficult situation. July 22nd, this is the next letter. President Jeff Moe wrote a letter to Kathy, to me, stating the Tioga Airport Authority will take ownership of fuel on September 1st, 2024. On August 15th, regularly scheduled meeting, I provided a letter to the Airport Authority challenging the need for Tioga Airport Authority to have ownership of that fuel. They said they needed it for the grant process to get grants, and I challenged that. So the TAA voted to extend the deadline for taking over the fuel until a special meeting could be held. Mr. Moe then stated that he will call Kyle Warner, North Dakota Aeronautics Commission Executive Director, tomorrow to discuss and maybe have a special meeting. So now we're up to the special meeting was planned following the regularly scheduled August meeting. Then on August 28th, this is just this past week, which is why I am here. This was last Wednesday at 3:54 p.m. The Tioga Airport Authority bookkeeper received a call from Mr. President Jeff Moe requested to have the information ready to do the fuel handoff from Tioga Aero Center to the Airport Authority. And that was to happen Sunday morning, this past Sunday, in the morning, September 1st, which is Labor Day of a 3-day weekend. At this time, Jeff Moe told the bookkeeper that a special meeting had been held on August 19th. And he provided the bookkeeper with the minutes of that meeting. There was a special meeting held on August 19th. This was the meeting of the Tioga Airport Authority. During the meeting, it was stated that the understanding of the board was that the Tioga Aero Center would provide a full inventory of the fuel on August 31st, Saturday, and TAA will take over on September 1st. A motion was made to discontinue TAC maintenance operations out at the Tioga Airport on September 30th. Jeff Moe states in the minutes, has 3 people lined up to do this service. There was no competitive bid done. On Thursday morning, so we have now known, this was August last Wednesday, I am made aware of a special meeting happened. The next morning, I sent a representative to City Hall to ask for a copy of the minutes of the notice and the minutes of that meeting. Neither document was found or provided to me. I believe that actions were taken during that special meeting, and it was a meeting held in violation of North Dakota Century Code. I do not believe it was properly noticed, and I still do not believe that. At this point, Tioga Aero Center had no option but to suspend our services out on the airfield. Tioga Aero Center packed up, removed all of our equipment from the General Aviation Terminal on Thursday, August 29th. Tioga Aero Center is no longer out on the field. You no longer have a fixed base operator out there. These services were terminated. The fuel has been gauged by 2 TAC workers, 1 TAC worker, 1 NESIT worker, and approved by Jeff Moe for the quantity. And the fuel has been processed and turned over. At 5 p.m. on August 29th, when this fuel was sold to the Tioga Airport Authority, and the invoice was provided today. The fuel master system and multi-service aviation was notified of the switch. Those are the credit card part of it that allows self-serve fuel distribution. And the TAC ownership to Tioga Airport Authority happened at 2 p.m. on August 29th. The process is underway right now. The situation out at the airport, it's a wonderful airport and something we should all be proud of. But the work environment out there is hostile. The work environment is toxic. It is a very, very poor situation. My goal here, I wanted to bring you aware of what's going on at the Tioga Airport. You no longer have the services that were provided. The list of services is in the packet that I brought to you. What am I going to do going forward? I'm not going to be running an FBO at the Tioga Airport P60. That is done. I have suspended those services. I am going to continue to look into meeting minutes and meeting notifications. I do feel that there was a violation. I also think that there has not been a competitive bidding process done. Mr. Jeff Moe is the president of the Tioga Airport Authority. He is also, according to these minutes, hiring his own company, Basin Pipeline, to do this work with no evidence of competitive bid process. I think that is quite a startling place to be. What's happened to me? I say that I have been operationally damaged. I believe I have been financially damaged by losing this business, and my reputation has been damaged. And I do plan to find out more information and to see if the North Dakota Aeronautics commission will take this under advisement and see if an investigation should happen. Thank you for your time.
Just say one thing, and it's probably not my place to say it at all. Your reputation's not damaged. Your reputation is bulletproof. Like, I have a relationship with you. I've met with you one time in the history of my entire life. I knew it the second I walked in the door. My heart has hurt ever since I've heard this story. I'm trying to figure out what I can do, what I can't do. The short answer I have right now is I don't know what I can do. So I just gotta sit tight and kind of be excited because I heard you say a word. I don't know if it was accident or not, but you said you suspended.
Correct. I suspended operations at the Tioga Airport. I feel so strongly, thank you for your kind words, Mr. President. I feel so strongly that an injustice has been perpetrated here. I think it is wrong to be able to go through the statements. You can read them in your minutes there. I appreciate your support. I will continue to look into this, though. I do thank you for your time.
Can I ask a practical question? And I, if Ms. Nessett can answer it, wonderful. If Mr. Moe is present and can answer it, that would be wonderful. And I don't have the background here, and I don't want to become a dog in a fight that is not necessarily the purview of the city, but the airport is a wonderful place, and I know it's frequently used by many. I've actually flown in and out of there on one occasion myself. And I guess my practical question is if there has been a disruption or interruption or abbreviation or severance of services, has there been like a NOTAM or any type of notice provided formally to pilots and other users of the airport? I guess that's just the practical concern that I want to make sure that I know this evening. And if it's not done, I sure hope someone gets it done.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we'll, we can get you on the agenda for next meeting. I don't want to try to play the phone game.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, number 10, Bank of Tioga.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for adding my request to the agenda. My name is Wendy Lundman. I'm the Senior Vice President of Business Banking at the Bank of Tioga. The Bank of Tioga has been the primary financial partner of the city of Tioga since 1952. For 72 years, we've served this community and the city of Tioga. We'd like to not only continue that relationship, but also build on it. We're committed to ensuring that the terms of the city accounts align with their financial needs to the very best of our ability. Within the last year, over $13 million of city funds has been moved out of the Bank of Tioga and out of our community. And I want to ask today that the commission here tonight make a motion to designate the city of Tioga as the primary banking partner for all city funds, review accounts currently held outside of the Bank of Tioga, and implement the plan to transition those funds back to our bank and back to our community. I feel like this action recognizes the benefits of supporting our local community bank and the positive economic impact it has on our community. I'm happy to share or answer any of your questions. I'm happy to kind of lay out for you how I feel the Bank of Tioga has invested in this community, in the members of the city of Tioga, and the impact that we feel like we've made here. I also have a copy that was submitted to the previous commissioners by the Tioga Chamber President, David Papineau, and was signed by several local business owners asking at that time that the commission not move funds out of the city of Tioga and keep them with our local community bank. And I'm happy to share a copy of that if you would like to see that.
Interest rates are competitive.
Yeah, I think you'll find if you look right now where we're at, and what the Bank of Tioga is offering, and what they're getting at other banks, it's very, very competitive.
So just about every single, maybe it is every single one of them. Just say interest rates weren't that competitive, like say they were like more than a whole percentage point, which I don't think is probably the case, with by a narrower gap than that, but I sure think just being here is enough. It's worth something, right? If we put our money into the Bank of Tioga, somebody moves to Tioga and borrows money from the Bank of Tioga. They buy stuff at the grocery store and the hardware store, and they have drinks down at Nana's, and you go eat dinner up at the Mexican restaurant. All of our money has now stayed in Tioga and supported every single business in Tioga. What percentage point is that worth?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you pointing that out. It is important. It's important to understand that the money that is invested with the Bank of Tioga or deposited with the Bank of Tioga also helps support local businesses in Tioga and homeowners in Tioga and consumers in Tioga. Obviously, a side note, like we're also an employer in Tioga and we provide jobs in Tioga and opportunities in Tioga. And we spend a lot of time volunteering in Tioga. Our employees all are very active volunteers in this community and we encourage that and support that 100%. We also give 10% of our pre-tax income back to our communities. And I'm happy to give you a layout of that, just cash back into our communities. And since 2014, the Bank of Tioga has given over $800,000 back to our communities. So if we're going to look at that in terms of, 1% rate, I'm not as awesome at math to do that in my head, but I try.
So I know we have funds that are locked up, say the bond stuff, that's not transferable, but everything that is transferable, that's what you're looking
That's what I'm
to bring
asking
back
for, yeah.
home.
Mhm. And then in addition to that, just to open the communication, I mean, the Bank of Tioga didn't know that this is what, was coming, but we're definitely open to communication. If there's something else that the city is looking for, if rate is a priority, if structure is a priority, we're happy to have those conversations and accommodate you as best we can. We want to be your financial partner. We want success for not just the city, but the community as a whole. And ultimately, that's our goal.
Say it again, I really thought just being a little bit enough.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Well, I think, looking at this and everything that you presented to us, I think that we are obligated to, because that's what the business owners in Tioga want. So I would like to make a motion to make the Bank of Tioga the primary bank and
I'm
work to
sorry,
move-
I have to interrupt that. Because legally, we can't do that till January 1st. But
Well,
You-
let's ask the commissioner to suspend for a moment. Mr. Iverson, if you'll suspend for a moment, I think what Abby is, because I don't want the motion to die on the floor for lack of a second. So will you suspend your motion?
Yes, I will suspend my motion.
Okay, thank you. I think what Abby's driving at there, and I didn't want to interrupt because I think there was a good exchange going, is that annually in January of each year under statute, we're required to solicit and review offers from existing or prospective financial partners to the city. I don't think there's any dispute whatsoever that the Bank of Tioga has been a good and longstanding partner of Tioga. And I know that last year there were several inquiries. What I don't want to see happen, I totally appreciate Ms. Lenzen being ahead of the ball. And the good news is you've made quite a presentation in September, which I think may well be persuasive come January. But I don't wish to put the city or the bank, frankly, in a bind by engaging in some action prematurely or in contravention to a statute. So I guess I didn't know this would be on the agenda tonight, Ms. Lenzen. Had I known that, I would have asked Mr. Iverson, our finance commissioner, or our commission president, or someone from City Hall to contact you. I think the information you provided is wonderful. And I definitely think the board should take it under advisement. I don't believe that we can engage in a, I guess, a formal investiture or designation until January. A substantial change of our financial position because of that statute. So that's all I'll say. Mr. Iverson, I didn't want to interrupt you. I would hate to see the motion fly entirely out of your mouth and then have this conversation and then have it be called dead in 3 months.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. for that.
I guess I have a question in regards to that. Is that saying that in January, there was a financial institution designated as the primary financial partner? Is that,
the Bank of Tioga was designated in January.
okay. So the Bank of Tioga is currently designated as the primary financial partner. And so I thought part of my request was for the funds that have been moved out of the Bank of Tioga to be moved back to the Bank of Tioga. Can we move forward with that motion?
I guess I would want some direction on what funds we're talking about. I think as you intimated, Wendy, and I appreciate that, there are some funds that were designated for deposit pursuant to bond security, so to speak. That's not the right word, but pursuant to a bond agreement. I think it's fair for you to ask and make that inquiry and identify what you're suggesting. And if it's feasible before January, certainly that's something the commission could entertain, but I would not wish them to move funds that are committed to other endeavors without investigating that, I guess is what I'll say. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I would just want to be darn sure that whatever you're asking be moved, be identified, and make sure it's not otherwise beholden to some other arrangement.
I think I can try identify a portion. I mean, I've read the bond resolution and the loan terms a little bit in detail, and I'm sure you have too. I think there's $3 million that had to stay at First State Bank, if I understand correctly. But there was also $10 million that was put out on bids for 2 CDs in the amount of $5 million for 6-month terms. And those were moved to First State Bank. And then after those 6 months, we reached out to the city auditor and asked about the opportunity to have those funds come back to the Bank of Tioga. And the response was those CDs mature on May 28th of 2024, and you're welcome to submit a bid at that time. And the highest bidder is really what will happen with that. And so we did that, and we received a response back that we did have the highest bid. There was conversation at a commission meeting that those CDs were maturing, and the request was not to renew both CDs, but to do one CD for $5 million, and the other $5 million would be left more liquid, because we are in construction season. We haven't seen those funds come back, and we've asked, and we've requested that. And the response that we received from the city auditor was that, they haven't had time to do that yet, to move those funds back. And also shared that it wasn't entirely clear where those funds were coming from. So I guess in response to that, I think initially what I'm looking for is that $10 million that I don't see is committed to the bond.
And I wish I had answers for you, but I don't think I was party to any of the communications that happened between you and City Hall. I guess, you know, if it pleases the commission, Abby can fill us in. I honestly, I don't have any personal knowledge of what those communications were. And I just, I would be uncomfortable moving substantial money without knowing, appropriately, as Ms. Lenzen asked, where it's committed, where it is at present, what its use is. I just don't know that. And I don't fault you for asking, Ms. Lenzen. I just don't want to make a misstep.
Yeah, I actually have copies of it here. I figured that might be coming. So I'm happy to provide that, copies of the city minutes and where that was requested. And then also time documented of those communications with the city auditor. I'm happy to share that with you if you'd like.
I'd love to have it just so we can do our homework till the
Okay.
next meeting or whenever it is we want to talk about this again. This is just one copy.
Yeah, I have other copies. I can sure drop them off for you.
Um, And we're gonna do that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, that is it for the new business portion of the agenda. So lastly, it's just our consent approval. 9 is payroll for August 22nd, 2024, and 10 are bills for August 2024. So unless there's any. Those will need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, with the motion and a second to approve the consent agenda, including payroll for August 22nd, 2024, and bills for August 2024. We'll move to a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
And motion carries. And lastly, we'll need a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. We'll move to a vote.
Yes.
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 Motion carries. We're adjourned at 8:48 PM.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.